right, we're joined now by Jideofor Adibe, professor at the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the Nasarawa State University. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. We'll come to the budget assumptions and all of that, but let's talk about the Federal Executive Council meeting that's now to hold on Mondays, away from the traditional Wednesdays. But for me, the concern really is, I mean, for an economy that seems to be in dire straits, we're hearing that those meetings may not necessarily be every week. It wouldn't be weekly.
Well,
thank you concerned about it?
Thank you very much for having me. I see a relationship between the new policy, the new arrangement, and the fact that it took the president so long to constitute his cabinet. One possible explanation is that he has this preference for, imperial form of presidency instead of maybe the system where people debate policies. He probably prefers, the individual ministers and DGs to come directly to him or his inner circle, and if they approve it, then you go running. So that's why most of the decisions in this second Executive Council meeting, we are just approving decisions he already had taken a priori. So one possible interpretation is that he's not too much into debating of policies. And one of the implications might be, if that's my assumption is correct, that you might have a situation where different centers of power, there will now be competition for access to those that are regarded as having the ears of the president. So where policies, you don't see them, that policies should be taken on the basis of debates emanating from the council, but rather on proximity to the locus of power, to the president, those who are believed to have his ears. So then you have different centers of power all competing to have access, to the people that are believed to have his ears. And that creates room for, what you can call governmental capture.
Well, anyway, I think as that is already on, and we're hoping to see how it pans out as some Nigerians, because you shared the concern of some Nigerians that will need pretty much more such engagement because of the dire situation. Let's talk about the economic aspect, which is very important here. But again, before we get into the 2024 projection, how would you rate the 2023 budget so far?
Well, the important thing is for you to know whether people are really operating within the budget framework. It's one thing, but it's simply a statement, financial statement. Do you adhere to it, or is just a statement that people in the end you find out that it's just a document, and people either go for supplementary, or you find out that inflationary rate has already, by the time you come to what is budgeted for, that you need more money. So if you look at, if we take Buhari as a case, to what extent was there any adherence to the budget? And to what extent was the budget implemented? So people are really looking beyond that document and trying to think of, well, let's see what happens on the ground.
Okay, so now the same Federal Executive Council has approved the application for $1.5 billion in financing from the World Bank. What do you make of that? Are you concerned that Nigeria's, debt seems to be ballooning?
Well, there is also that concern, and the finance minister, we respect him as a very smart guy, but there are also people who are concerned about his brand of economics, and that is economics that is very much Bretton Woods oriented, that is this cozying up a lot to the World Bank and IMF. Not many people are very enamored. There are people who believe that, if, for example, if I take you to one of the things that have been happening in some countries, there's at the root of this BRICS drive is also a desire by many countries to detach themselves a little more from the Western system, represented by the World Bank and IMF.
BRICS, of course, is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and
all
South
these.
Africa.
So one, I'm concerned about the increasing accumulation of debts. At a point, we are sending signal to the world, oh, we want debt forgiveness, and you're accumulating more. And that will harden the minds of those who even want to listen to that. Remember in the 80s and 90s, when concepts like faith worse than debt, were the rage. And some people were opposed to debt forgiveness. The people were even opposed in the Western world, saying that the issue was not forgiving the debts, but making sure that the circumstances that lead to accumulation of debts are addressed. So we cannot at the same time already sending signals that we are going to beg for debt forgiveness and at the same time accumulating. Remember at that point in time, we started this idea of irresponsible lenders, that you already see that people are swimming in debt and you are giving them more and more money. That on its own should be enough ground to refuse to pay.
But again, speaking of which, shouldn't we be concerned about the current revenues which the government is committed to servicing debt, because they seem to have created pretty much more revenue
in Naira terms?
Yes.
Well, revenue in Naira terms only because of the collapse of the value of the Naira. So you can argue in that sense that if you were used to getting $1 billion as revenues, you have tripled the Naira value, not the real terms. And there are still conversations about increasing the wages and all this. So I personally don't think it's the way to go. Is still too early, because we have to put this
What are the options?
We have to look at this thing in terms of optics. People are already criticized Buhari. At a point we are using 96% of our revenue to service debts. That was a very big point of criticism against Buhari. And of course we knew the economy was in bad shape when they came in. And he didn't start from the low-hanging fruits. The low-hanging fruits are often those things that you pluck in to enhance your legitimacy base. But he opted for the other round, which is to show that you are battle ready, that you can take the tough decision.
So going forward, what do you expect to see with this administration, looking at the projected 2024 budget, as well as what revenue move the government has put in place?
Well, the only thing I think, I think it's a good move, the 43 items that were removed and put back. I think that may, in my own opinion, reduce the pressure on the dollar. But that should not be enough, because the supply side and the demand side, they have to match. But I think, in my own opinion, that was a better policy move, rather than, for example, all those handouts you are throwing here and there. I think it's better to address the macroeconomic side of it. At the same time, if you are trying to do these kind of good measures and you are borrowing more, which means you are going again to increase the ratio you use to service your debts, then where does that leave us?
Is 26 trillion realistic?
Well, it depends on how the exchange rate moves, because you're talking about Naira.
There you go. Jideofor Adibe is Professor of Department of Political Science and International Relations, Nasarawa State University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.